You know, every once in a while, the world gives us a reminder that power is not permanent. It's borrowed. And this week, that reminder came from the East. China has sent a quiet, firm warning to the United States about its sudden shift toward Venezuela. A move that looks on the surface like diplomacy, but underneath it's a scramble for control in a world that's rapidly changing its center of gravity. Now, before we dive into politics, let's step back. Think of the global economy as a chessboard. For decades, America played both sides, defending democracy with one hand and securing oil with the other. Venezuela was once a lost square on that board. Isolated by sanctions, its people pushed into hardship. But now, as Washington reopens talks and relaxes pressure, China is saying, oh, no, wait a minute, we've been there when no one else was. And that's not arrogance, it's memory. You see, while the U.S. turned away, China built roads, bought crude, and invested in the Venezuelan dream when it was cracked and forgotten. So this warning, what China really said and why it matters isn't just geopolitical, it's moral. It's like someone saying, you don't get to come back just because the lights are on again. Richard Wolff once said something profound. Economics is not about money, it's about power and people. And today we're seeing exactly that. The United States is realizing that control doesn't come from sanctions anymore. It comes from relationships, trust, and consistency. And that's where China has learned to play a longer game. Let's be honest, this isn't just about oil or trade routes. It's about the future of influence in a multipolar world. China's message is not stay away. It's don't pretend to care now, because genuine partnership doesn't bloom overnight. It grows in storms. And Venezuela, after years of sanctions and struggle, has seen who stood beside it when things were dark. But there's a deeper lesson here for all of us. The world stage isn't so different from our personal lives. Sometimes people return when success shines again. When you've done the hard work alone, when your value suddenly becomes visible. That's when you must remember who stood with you in silence. Nations, like individuals, deserve loyalty, not convenience. So when China speaks, it's not just politics, it's a mirror. It reminds us that every act of partnership carries weight. You can't rewrite history, you can only learn from it. The U.S. might be ready to re-enter Latin America. But if it does so without humility, it risks repeating the same old cycle. Power without respect, presence without understanding. Here's what Wolff might Venezuela's forgotten alliances explain remind us. Capitalism at its heart creates competition for control, but cooperation is what sustains civilizations. And maybe, just maybe, this Venezuela moment is a signal that the world is tired of control and ready for balance. Let's think about this in human terms. Imagine a friend who ignored you when you had nothing, but now seeing you rebuild your life suddenly calls to make peace. Do you trust them? Maybe, but not without remembering the silence they left behind. That's Venezuela's position today, and that's China's message. Respect is not a currency. It's a commitment. Stepping into influence will not belong to those who shout the loudest, but to those who show up when it matters most. That idea sounds simple, almost poetic, but it's one of the hardest truths to live by. Whether you're a person, a company, or a nation, when everything is bright and stable, support is easy. People gather around you when your light shines, when your success benefits them, when being close to you feels safe. But when darkness falls, when mistakes happen, the ones who remain are the ones whose strength cannot be bought. Standing by someone when it's unpopular, when it costs something, that's an act of moral courage. It creates a kind of invisible strength that time always honors. In the case of China and Venezuela, this principle becomes almost symbolic. When much of the world turned away from Venezuela during its economic crisis, China didn't vanish. It didn't take the easy route of moral superiority. It stayed connected, investing when the return of economic balance risks were high. Many criticized it as opportunism, but years later that presence became the foundation of trust. That's what standing by means, seeing potential when everyone else sees trouble. It's the same in human life. When people lose their jobs, face public failure, or fall from grace, the world grows silent around them. Phones stop ringing, doors close, and support becomes conditional. But those who remain in those moments, who still call, still believe, still invest time, are the ones who hold a quiet, lasting power. Their loyalty becomes an anchor in chaos, and one day that loyalty returns multiplied. Power is often mistaken for dominance, but dominance fades. The kind of power that changes history is built from patience, from presence, from endurance. A storm may destroy buildings, but it reveals the strength of foundations. In that sense, standing by someone in their storm is not just kindness. It's alignment with truth. It means you're not afraid of temporary darkness because you trust the dawn that will follow. There's a story from nature that mirrors this. When forests burn, the heat destroys almost everything on the surface. But the fire also cracks open the seeds of certain trees that can only grow after fire. Without the destruction, there would be no renewal. Those who stay through that fire, the species, the soil, the hidden roots, they are the ones who ensure the forest returns. That's how loyalty works. It's quiet, patient, and enduring. It doesn't seek applause, it seeks restoration. In world politics, it's easy to join a cause when it's trending. It's easy to sign treaties when the cameras are watching and step away when headlines fade. But real diplomacy, the kind that builds centuries of peace, comes from the same principle, standing by when the world turns away. That's why ancient Richard Wolff's analysis, power and loyalty alliances, still hold meaning. That's why old friendships between nations survive modern chaos. They were not built on transaction, they were built on trust. This truth applies equally to economics. When markets crash, investors disappear. But those who stay, who rebuild with patience, often shape the next era. The same people who were mocked for believing in a failing venture often become the architects of its revival. The world remembers those who did not run. In personal life, too, it's the same. There's no greater feeling than realizing someone believed in you when you didn't even believe in yourself. It creates a bond stronger than any promise. True support is not measured by what someone gives when you're rising. It's measured by what they give when you're falling. True power does not need validation. It doesn't announce itself. It's quiet, consistent, and it grows in the background of adversity. The person or nation that can stand steady when others retreat earns a moral authority that no title or weapon can replace. That's why leaders who remain calm during crisis are respected long after their time. They embody the stillness that power requires. The discipline to stay when leaving is easier. In a world obsessed with visibility, standing by others in silence becomes an act of rebellion. It's easy to post support online. It's harder to show up privately when there's no audience. Yet those are the moments that define character. Because what we do when no one is watching reveals who we really are. Nations too show their true character, not in speeches or parades, but in how they act when an ally falls from grace. Lessons for individuals and nations. There's a reason the greatest friendships in history were forged through hardship, not comfort. Struggle clarifies loyalty. It separates those who want something from you from those who want you. The same applies to power. When power is used to protect rather than to exploit, it becomes respected. When influence is used to uplift the fallen rather than replace them, it becomes immortal. Look at any empire that tried to dominate through fear. They all fell. But those who led through presence and faith endured. Standing by others when they're weak is not a sign of pity. It's a statement of strength. It says, I see your value even when the world doesn't. That's not just politics or morality. That's humanity at its highest form. If you look deeper, you realize that standing by others also transforms the one who stays. It builds empathy, patience, and a sense of balance. It teaches that life is circular. Today you might be the helper, tomorrow you might need help. And those who stood by others in their dark times rarely find themselves alone in their own. Every act of genuine support plants a seed of resilience somewhere. It may not bloom immediately, but it never dies. Time always rewards those who choose faith over fear, presence over withdrawal. That's why this principle transcends power politics. Its final insight. Standing by others in silence spiritual. It's universal. Whether you are a nation deciding foreign policy or an individual deciding friendship, the rule remains the same. Real strength is proven not when you lead the crowd, but when you stay after the crowd has left.